What is going on, fellow plank pirates? First of all, I want to thank you for being here and being a part of this challenge. The plank is such a crucially important movement that a lot of people are doing wrong or doing in the incorrect ways, that I think this is going to be such a massive boost to your fitness and body composition goals. So what we're going to run through today is firstly how to properly plank. Second of all, the problems that you might run into or you might see in your local gym. And the third are a few practice drills so that you can maximize what you're getting out of a plank. So first thing is how to do that proper plank. Now let's walk through a couple of the first steps here. So starting from the ground, you're in that prone position, which means that your stomach is on the floor. You're gonna bring those elbows right under the shoulders here. They're gonna create that right angle when you get up off the ground. And you're gonna think about packing those shoulders down. So a lot of times you'll see the shoulders scrunch up towards someone's ears. I want you to make sure those elbows are under the shoulders and that the ears and shoulders have good distance between them. Now from here, you want to tuck those toes underneath the heels there. What the problem becomes when you have those toes too far in front, you don't have any stability and you can move back and forth. So tuck those toes under. Now as we lift our hips up here and contract that core, what we're looking to do is make sure that you can tuck those toes a little bit further underneath, and then you're thinking about raising that belly button up into the spine there. So rather than here, you want to think about pushing that belly button back into the spine from that position. If you do all those steps properly, it's really, really hard not to get a great contraction to the core and really difficult to utilize too many other muscles. Obviously, there are other things working in a good plank, but the abs and the core muscles should be the primary movers there. So on to part 2 here, and those problem areas that you commonly see in a gym environment or someone even working in a session or at home. The first one being the butt up too high. So if we start here from our knees, tuck those toes underneath, get that nice plank going. The problem you see a lot is people start to get tired. They want to utilize other muscles besides their core, and that butt just comes up higher and higher. And the issue here is obviously we're not maximizing our core usage, so you want to make sure that that butt comes down. It should be a pretty straight line from shoulders through butt, through your ankles here, so the joints are all kind of in line. So what that looks like right here, you're kind of in that nice line, rather than those hips kind of coming up here, and you notice that the body is not in the place where we want it to be. The second one is kind of the opposite here, where the hips are too low. Someone thinking that maybe, okay, they started here, and they're trying to level it out, and they actually come too low. Problem with that is you're putting a ton of strain on that low back. We want to make sure, again, to bring things level so that you're pretty neutral here. You know, there are individual differences where your back might be a little bit more rounded, or someone's angles might be a little bit different, but for the most part, it's going to be a pretty straight line across the body. The next one is a slide. So if you ever see this one in the gym, where someone's out here and they start slipping apart and gradually they're going to fall over. What's happening there are one of two things. You either didn't get those toes underneath the heels, and if the body's like this, it's going to push everything forward, and your elbows at a certain point are not going to be able to push back hard enough, and you're just going to slide forward. Alternatively, that's why you want to do planks in shoes and not socks, because even if you have that toe tuck position, sometimes tend to slide back a little bit, but it can also be a good test to make sure you're in the right position. The fourth thing here is a twofer. You've got a boat back or a camel back, is what I like to call them. They're kind of the same thing, and they're very similar to butt too high or hips too low, but what you're seeing here is maybe everything's in line, but you've got too much extension through the back. Or the opposite, you've got things in line, but you've got that big hump in the camelback here. What you're trying to do there is overcompensate one way or the other. And you want to make sure, again, that you are taking that belly button and think about pressing it back if your body's bowing in like this. And if you're camel humping here, you just want to open that chest just a little bit, and tiny, tiny changes make a huge, big difference. The last one here, which I do when I'm on camera, which is why I always sound out of breath, is forget to breathe. So give me a second here. You want to make sure that even though it's a little bit difficult and you're engaging your core, which tightens everything in this area, makes it harder for those lungs to expand, you're still breathing through it. It gets a little bit easier with practice, but just constantly think, in addition to everything else I've asked you to do here, that you're breathing, that you're getting enough oxygen, and making sure that your body can utilize those muscles to its maximum potential. Now, I've got 3 practice drills here for you, and these are really what's going to take your plank to the next level. So the first one is what I like to call dolphin plank. You're going to come into that plank position here, like normal, and you're going to hold it for about 5 seconds. So you've got your 5, and then you're going to push up to what is essentially a down dog from the elbow position here. Hold that for 5 seconds, and then the key is right here where you feel the core engage and lock in. That's your natural plank position, and that's what we're striving to achieve to get from the ground, but it's much easier to lock in if you're coming at it from that pseudo down dog position. So what I'd like you to do there is 3 sets of 5 seconds on, 5 seconds off times 3. So it would be 5 seconds, 5 seconds, 5 seconds, 5 seconds, 5 seconds, 5 seconds, then you rest and do a second set of that and a third set of that. The next exercise are called hard style contractions. So this comes from the Russian kettlebell training here, hard style, which sounds scary, especially because it's with Russia, they're scary people, but it's not so bad. The goal here, like a goal of a good plank, is to get a good contraction rather than holding for too long like I had you do on Monday here, or just to see what your form was like and how long you could actually do to get a baseline. We're looking for contraction rather than time. So I want to see some shake. I want to see as much muscular energy contraction as we can possibly get. So what you're going to be thinking here is get up into your normal plank, find that, and then you're going to think about shrinking the space between the elbows and the toes. So you're squeezing that ground together. You're not actually moving, but you can see how I shake right away. That's because I've got all my muscles working together. What I'm actually doing is pulling this space. So it's still an isometric move because the rest of my bodies aren't, most of my muscles are not moving, but I'm contracting everything here. It's like if you were to take an object and press down that can't move, you're working your core. And the third, I'm sorry, let me give you something to do for that one. So for that max contraction hard style exercise, what you're gonna be looking to do is 3 sets of 10 seconds off, or 10 seconds on, 20 seconds off. So real simple, takes a minute and a half, and I want you to squeeze as hard as you possibly can for those 10 seconds. Now remember, you want to keep everything in line, you want to keep that same form, but you want to squeeze as hard as you possibly can, rest for 20, and do it again. The last one here, it depends on whether you have carpet or hardwood or whatever surface you're working on here. If you got carpet, get some furniture movers, literally. Don't go to the fitness store, they charge extra, get furniture movers here. And if you have a hardwood floor or tile or something, use towels, they'll slide right over nicely. What you're gonna do, stick those feet on those gliders. You're gonna come up in your plank here, and what we're gonna do are body saw planks. So you're just gonna slide yourself forward and back a couple inches. You really don't need that much, and just try and hold that plank position here. You can see the shake, you can see the contraction. The slower the better here. The goal again is that this plank position is not just to be utilized in a plank position. We're going to use that core bracing and take it to our squats, our deadlifts, all these other exercises, and we want you to be able to move while you're holding that position. So this is what that drill kind of builds up. So we're going to be having 3 sets, 8 to 10 reps, rest for a little bit in between, make sure you use that slider or towel. If you don't have anything, it can still be done just from the toes. Right here, you just have to push them back a little bit further and move a little bit each way. Now, that's not ideal, and that is only if you can't find something that'll slide for you. So give those drills a shot, give that form a shot. Let me know if you have any questions, and have fun planking.